My husband drained our life savings to fund his mistress while I was hospitalized. I revealed I was pregnant with twins and serving him divorce papers at the same time. My name is Alara. I'm 29, and looking back at the person I was just 6 months ago, I almost want to shake her. I want to grab her by the shoulders and scream, "Look at his phone. Look at the bank statements. Stop being so blindly in love." But I can't, because that version of me is dead. She died in a sterile hospital room, under the hum of fluorescent lights, realizing the man she built her entire world around was a stranger. To understand why the ending of this story is so nuclear, you have to understand the beginning. You have to understand that Julian wasn't just my husband. He was my project. He was my investment. He was the only person in the world I trusted completely. We met in college, but the real bond formed in our mid-20s. I was working my way up in corporate logistics, high stress, high reward, 60-hour weeks. Julian was the dreamer. He had that charismatic startup energy. He was always one pitch away from making millions, one meeting away from the big break. I fell for it. I fell for the vision he painted of us. We had a ritual. Every Friday night, no matter how exhausted I was from putting out fires at the warehouse, Julian would make homemade pasta. He'd pour me a glass of cheap red wine, sit me down at our tiny scratched-up kitchen island, and massage my shoulders. I remember one night specifically, about 8 months ago. This is the memory that haunted me the most while I was lying in that hospital bed. I had just finished a double shift. My feet were throbbing, and I had a migraine that felt like an ice pick behind my right eye. I slumped onto the stool, putting my hands in my hands. Julian walked up behind me. I felt his hands, warm and firm, start working the knots out of my neck. "Rough day, Elle?" he asked, his voice low and soothing. "The worst," I mumbled into my palms. "The shipment from Shanghai is delayed, the client is threatening to sue, and my boss is looking for a scapegoat. I don't know how much longer I can do this, Julian. I'm burnt out." He stopped massaging and wrapped his arms around me, resting his chin on my shoulder. "Hey, look at me," he whispered. I turned on the stool. His eyes were so blue, so sincere. "You are the strongest woman I know," Julian said, tucking a strand of hair behind his ear. "I know it's hard right now. I know you're carrying the weight for both of us. But Vertex is going to take off. I can feel it. I have that meeting with the investors in San Francisco next month. Once that capital hits, you're done. You quit. You write your novel. We buy the house by the lake. Just hold on a little longer, okay? For us." "For us," I repeated, feeling the tension melt away. I worry about the savings, Julian. We're putting everything into your business trips and the prototypes. If this doesn't work." He kissed my forehead. "It will work, because I'm doing it for you. You're my muse, Alara. Everything I do is to give you the life you deserve." I believed him. God, I believed him so much it hurts to type this. I didn't just believe him with my heart, I believed him with my wallet. For 5 years, I was the sole provider. I paid the rent on our apartment, I paid the car lease, I paid for groceries, utilities, and his business expenses. Every suit he wore, I paid for. Every flight he took to meet clients, I paid for. Every networking dinner, I covered. We had a joint savings account, the Future Fund. It was strictly for a down payment on a house and, eventually, a baby. We had agreed that we wouldn't touch it unless it was a dire emergency. I was aggressive with savings. I skipped lunch with coworkers to save $15 a day. I shopped at discount grocery stores. I haven't bought myself new clothes in 2 years. Every spare cent went into that account. By the start of this year, we had $48,000 in there. It was my safety blanket. It was the proof that my suffering at work had a purpose. Then the sickness started. About 3 months ago, I started feeling off. I was constantly fatigued. I'd get dizzy spells standing up too fast. I assumed it was the stress. I assumed my body was finally revolting against the 60-hour weeks I was working to fund Julian's dream. One morning, while I was getting dressed for work, I sat on the edge of the bed, gripping the mattress. The room was spinning. Julian was in front of the mirror, adjusting his tie. He looked dapper. Expensive suit, fresh haircut. He was preparing for his big trip to Miami. Apparently, there was a tech summit there, and he swore this was where he'd find his angel investor. "You okay?" he asked, looking at me through the mirror. He didn't turn around. "I feel terrible, Julian," I said, my voice shaky. "I think I might call in sick."
He frowned,
finally turning to face me. Babe, you can't. Didn't you say you have that quarterly review today? If you miss that, it could jeopardize your bonus. We need that bonus if I'm going to extend the Miami trip for the networking gala. I looked at him. He didn't look worried about my health. He looked worried about the cash flow. But I was so conditioned to support him, I brushed it off. You're right, I said, forcing myself to stand up. The nausea rolled in my stomach like a wave. I can't miss the review. I'll just chug some ginger ale. That's my girl, he beamed, walking over and giving me a quick peck on the cheek. Eyes on the prize, Alara. I'm going to crush it in Miami, and you're going to crush it here. Teamwork. Teamwork, I echoed weakly. He left for the airport an hour later. He was giddy, excited. He told me his phone might be spotty because he'd be in deep dive workshops all week, but he'd text when he could. I drove to work in a daze. I sat through 3 meetings, fighting the urge to vomit. Then, around 2 p.m., I was standing in the break room trying to pour a cup of coffee. The last thing I remember was the sound of the ceramic mug shattering on the floor, then darkness. I woke up to the rhythmic beeping of monitors. The smell of antiseptic stung my nose. My arm felt heavy, and I looked down to see an IV line taped to my skin. I was in a hospital room. A nurse walked in, a kind-looking woman with graying hair. She smiled when she saw my eyes open. "Welcome back, Sleeping Beauty," she said gently, checking the monitors. "You gave your office quite a scare. Passed out cold." What happened?" I croaked. "Is it exhaustion?" She pulled up a stool and sat next to me. Her expression shifted from professional to something softer, more motherly. "Well, dehydration and stress certainly played a part, Alara," she said. "But your blood work came back with some interesting news. You're not just tired, honey. You're pregnant." My brain stopped. The room went silent. "Pregnant?" I whispered. "And," she continued, her smile widening, "your HCG levels are incredibly high. We did a quick ultrasound to confirm the heartbeat, and we found 2. I stared at her. 2? Twins, Alara. You're about 9 weeks along with twins. The emotion that washed over me was undescribable. Fear, yes, but mostly overwhelming joy. Julian and I had talked about this for years. This was the someday we were working toward, and now it was here. Twins. I immediately reached for my phone on the bedside table. I needed to tell Julian. He was in Miami, chasing our future, and I had just secured the other half of it. I dialed his number. Ring, ring, ring. It went to voicemail. "Hey, this is Julian. I'm probably closing a deal or popping champagne. Leave a message." I didn't leave a message. I wanted to tell him live. I texted him instead. Me. "Julian, please call me as soon as you get this. I'm in the hospital. I'm okay, but I have huge news. Life-changing news. Please call." I waited. 10 minutes. 30 minutes. An hour. I stared at the phone. Nothing. Finally, 3 bubbles appeared. Julian. "OMG, babe. Are you okay? I'm so sorry. I'm in a super exclusive dinner with the CEO of Technova. No phones allowed at the table. I stepped out to the bathroom to check. Hospital? What happened?" Me. "I fainted at work. They ran tests." "Julian, you need to sit down." Julian. "I can't sit down. I have to go back in." "Just tell me you're safe. Is it the stress again?" I decided not to text the baby news. That wasn't a text conversation, but I needed him to know the gravity of the situation. "I'm safe. They're keeping me overnight for observation. But I need you to come home, Julian. Please. Forget the conference. I need my husband." There was a long pause. 5 minutes. Julian. "Alara, you know I can't do that. This is the opportunity of a lifetime. If I leave now, I look like a flake. I look uncommitted. I'm doing this for us, remember? You're in the hospital. You're safe. The doctors have you. I'll be back on Sunday as planned. I love you. Gotta go." He went offline. I sat there, stunned. I was in a hospital bed, pregnant with his children, and he wouldn't leave a dinner party? Tears pricked my eyes. I felt incredibly alone. Since Julian wasn't coming, I needed to sort out the logistics myself. I worried about the hospital bill. My insurance was good, but with an overnight stay and an ER visit, there would be copays. I opened my banking app on my phone. I wanted to transfer a little bit of money from the future fund into our checking account, just to be safe. I figured taking out $500 wouldn't hurt, considering we had nearly $50,000. I logged in.
I tapped on savings. I blinked. I rubbed my eyes, thinking the medication was making me hallucinate. I refreshed the page. Account balance. $42.50. I froze, my breath caught in my throat. I clicked on transaction history.
3 days ago, the day before Julian left for Miami, there was a single transfer. Transfer to external account ending in 8890, minus $48,200. I stared at the screen until the numbers blurred. $48,000. Gone. My hands started to shake uncontrollably. I clicked on the transfer details. It wasn't a wire to a business. It wasn't a payment to a vendor. It was a transfer to a private checking account at a different bank. I felt like I was going to throw up again. I immediately called the bank. I was frantic. I need to report fraud, I told the operator, my voice rising in panic. Someone drained my savings account, $48,000. The operator was calm. One moment, ma'am. Let me verify. I see the transaction. It was authorized via the mobile app on a device labeled Julian's iPhone 14 Pro. Since he is a joint owner on the account, the transaction is flagged as valid. No, I argued, tears streaming down my face. He's in Miami. He wouldn't empty the account without telling me. It has to be a mistake. The device ID matches, ma'am, and the location of the transfer was from your home IP address on Tuesday night at 11:45 p.m. Tuesday night? I was asleep then. Julian had stayed up late working on his pitch deck. He didn't hack us. He didn't get stolen from. He did it. But why? $48,000 for a business trip? That didn't make sense. Even if he was trying to impress investors, you don't spend a down payment on a house in 3 days. I hung up with the bank, my heart pounding so hard the heart rate monitor next to me started beeping faster. I needed to know where that money went, and I needed to know now. Julian was offline in Miami. He thought I was sedated and safe in a hospital bed. He thought I was the dutiful, working wife who would never question him. He forgot one thing. We share an iCloud family plan. He had turned off his Find My Friends location sharing the moment he landed in Miami. He claimed it saved battery. But Julian is not tech savvy when it comes to the deep settings. He thinks Find My Friends is the only way to be tracked. He forgets that because I pay for the 2 terabyte storage plan, our photos sync. I opened the Photos app on my iPad, which I had in my work bag. I went to the Library tab. If he was taking photos on his phone and his phone was connected to Wi-Fi, like at a hotel or a fancy dinner, they would upload to the stream. I watched the screen, waiting for it to refresh. Syncing. A new photo popped up. It wasn't a conference room. It wasn't a boardroom. It wasn't a networking gala. It was a selfie. It was taken on a balcony. In the background, there was turquoise water and white sand. In the foreground, there was Julian. He was wearing sunglasses and a white linen shirt, holding a glass of champagne. And he wasn't alone. A woman was kissing his cheek. She had long, dark hair and was wearing a bikini cup. I recognized her instantly. It was Monica. Monica was his former administrative assistant from his old job 3 years ago, the one he told me was crazy and obsessed with him, the one he swore he had blocked on everything. I swiped to the next photo. It was a picture of a room service receipt on a table. He probably took it to expense it later, or maybe by accident. I zoomed in. The Royal Sands Resort, Turks and Caicos. Guest, Mr. and Mrs. Julian Vance. Bill total to date, $6,400. He wasn't in Miami. He wasn't at a tech conference. He had drained our house fund, our baby fund, my blood, sweat, and tears money to take his mistress on a luxury vacation to Turks and Caicos, while I was lying in a hospital bed, hooked up to an IV, pregnant with his twins. The rage that hit me wasn't hot. It wasn't fiery. It was ice cold. I looked at the nurse who walked back in to check my beeping monitor. "Is everything okay, sweetie? Your heart rate is spiking," she asked, concerned. I looked at the photo of Julian and Monica one last time. Then I looked at the nurse. "I'm fine," I said, my voice dead calm. I just realized exactly what I need to do. The urge to scream was physical. It felt like a bubble of acid expanding in my throat, threatening to burn its way out. I wanted to call him. I wanted to send him the screenshot of him and Monica sipping champagne and text him, "Enjoying the conference, you piece of filth?" But I didn't. I remembered something my father told me once. When you catch a snake, you don't grab its tail. It'll bite you. You wait until you can grab its head so it can't strike back. If I confronted Julian now while he was 900 miles away in Turks and Caicos, he would panic. He would delete the photos. He would transfer the remaining money, if there was any left, somewhere I couldn't trace. He would spin a story about how Monica just happened to be there, or that the $48,000 was moved for asset protection. He would gaslight me, and from a distance, I couldn't control the narrative. So I went silent. I spent the next 3 hours in that hospital bed doing digital forensics. I took screenshots of every photo that popped up on the iCloud stream. There were dozens. Julian and Monica at a candlelight dinner, $400 bottle of wine visible. Monica wearing a diamond tennis bracelet that I definitely didn't own. A video of them on a jet ski, laughing. The sound of his laugh, the same laugh I fell in love with, made my stomach turn. I emailed everything to a secret Gmail account I created right then and there. I downloaded the bank statements. I saved the chat logs. Then I turned off the photo syncing on my iPad so he wouldn't see that I had seen them. When the nurse came back to discharge me, she looked at my face. "You look determined, honey," she said. "I have a lot to prepare for," I replied. She thought I meant the twins. I meant the war. I went home to our empty apartment. It felt like walking into a crime scene. Every object in the house felt tainted. The couch we bought together, the photos on the wall, the half-empty bottle of his cologne on the bathroom counter. I didn't sleep that weekend. I survived on crackers and rage. Sunday evening rolled around. His flight was due to land at 6 p.m. I sat on the living room couch, the TV on mute. I had rehearsed this moment 1,000 times in my head. I had to be the tired, recovering wife, not the executioner. Not yet. At 7:30 p.m., the key turned in the lock. "Honey, I'm home." His voice was cheerful, booming, the voice of a man who had just had the time of his life. Julian walked in, dragging his suitcase. And oh my God, the audacity. He was bronzed, deeply, richly tanned. You don't get that kind of tan sitting in conference rooms in Miami. He smelled like coconut oil and duty-free whiskey. He dropped his bag and rushed over to me, putting on a performance of concern that deserves an Oscar. "Ilara, oh my God," he said, kneeling beside the couch and grabbing my hand. "You look so pale. How are you feeling?" I was worried sick the whole flight back. I looked at his hands holding mine. He wasn't wearing his wedding ring. "I'm okay," I said, my voice flat. I didn't have to fake the exhaustion. The doctor said I need rest. It was a lot. "I hate that I wasn't here," he said, squeezing my hand. I felt terrible. But this trip, Ilara, it was monumental. It changed everything. Here it comes, the setup. "Did it?" I asked, looking him dead in the eyes. "Did you find the investor?" He stood up, pacing the room with manic energy. "Better. I met a guy, an angel investor from Dubai. He was at the summit. We clicked instantly. We spent the last 3 days mapping out the logistics for Vertex. I watched him lie. It was effortless. The words flowed out of him like water. "That sounds amazing," I said. "So the pitch went well?" "Incredible," he grinned. "But listen, babe, there's something I need to tell you. You know how we always said we needed to have skin in the game?" My heart stopped. "Yes? Well, this investor, his name was Kasim, he said he only backs founders who are fully committed. He needed to see proof of funds, immediate liquidity to secure the initial bond for the partnership." He paused, looking at me with those puppy dog eyes. I had to make a command decision, Ilara. The window was closing. If I didn't show the funds right then, he was going to walk. "What did you do, Julian?" I asked, knowing the answer. "I moved the savings," he said. He said it casually, like he'd moved a couch. "I transferred the $48,000 into a holding escrow account for the partnership. It's locked in for 6 months, but once the Series A funding hits, we get it back triple. Triple, Ilara. We're looking at $150,000 by Christmas." I stared at him. He hadn't just spent the money on a vacation. He had crafted a lie to explain why it was gone so I wouldn't go looking for it. He stole our life savings, spent it on a mistress, and was now trying to frame it as a heroic business move. "You emptied the account?" I whispered, without asking me. "I couldn't reach you," he protested, throwing his hands up. "You were in the hospital. I had to act. I did this for us, for our future family." Our future family. I felt the twins inside me. I felt a protective instinct so fierce it almost made me lunge at him. "Right," I said, "for the family." "I knew you would understand," he said, relieved. He reached into his pocket. "Oh, and I got you something, a little pick-me-up." He handed me a small box. It was chocolate. Cheap, airport chocolate. The sticker on the back said Miami International Airport. He had bought cover-up chocolate at his layover to prove he was in Miami. "Thanks," I said, setting it on the table. Now came the test. I needed to see just how far he would go. I needed to see if there was any shred of conscience left in him. "So," I said, leaning back, "how was the weather in Miami?" I was watching the news in the hospital room, and they said a massive tropical depression hit the coast. Flooding, 60-mile-per-hour winds. It looked scary. This was a lie. I checked the weather. Miami had been sunny and 85 degrees all week. But Turks and Caicos? They actually did have a brief storm pass through on Thursday. I saw it in the background of one of his videos where the palm trees were bending. If he was in Miami, he would say, "What storm? It was sunny." If he was lying, he would agree with me to garner sympathy. Julian didn't hesitate. "Oh, it was a nightmare, Alara," he said, shaking his head. "Absolute torrential downpour. I got soaked running from the hotel to the convention center. The wind was crazy. That's why I didn't text much on Thursday. The cell towers were acting up." Gotcha. He agreed with the lie because he wasn't in Miami to know it was sunny. He assumed I was telling the truth about the weather, and he adapted his lie to fit mine. "That sounds awful," I said. "I'm glad you're safe." "Yeah, well, I braved the storm for us," he said, finally sitting down and putting his feet up on the coffee table. My coffee table. God, I'm beat. Business is exhausting. He closed his eyes. I looked at him. I looked at the man I had sacrificed 5 years of my life for. The man I nursed through the flu, the man I encouraged when he was depressed, the man I was carrying 2 children for. He was gone. In his place sat a sociopath who could look his pregnant wife in the eye and tell her he drained her savings for a business deal, while the taste of his mistress was probably still on his lips. That night, lying in bed next to him, listening to him snore, I didn't cry. I planned. I knew he thought he had 6 months. He said the money was locked up for 6 months. That was his buffer. He thought he had half a year to figure out how to replace the money or leave me before I found out the truth. He didn't have 6 months, because next Saturday was his 30th birthday party. We had invited everyone, his parents, who worshipped him, my parents, his college friends, his business partners, aka his drinking buddies. About 40 people were coming to our apartment's rooftop lounge. He loved attention. He loved being the center of the universe. I decided right then, staring at the ceiling in the dark, that I would give him a birthday present he would never forget. I wasn't going to cancel the party. I was going to upgrade it. The week leading up to Julian's 30th birthday was a masterclass in dissociation. I went to work, I smiled at my coworkers, I came home, I made dinner. But inside, I was operating like a machine. On Monday morning, I took a sick day. I didn't go to the doctor. I went to the glass-walled office of Marcus Thorne, a divorce attorney my boss had recommended years ago when her own marriage imploded. Marcus was a terrifying man. He wore a suit that cost more than my car, and he had eyes that looked like they could peel paint off a wall. I sat across from him, sliding a thick manila folder across the mahogany desk. "Everything is in there," I said, my voice steady. "The bank transfer records, the IP address logs, the geolocation data, the screenshots from Turks and Caicos, the hotel receipts." Marcus opened the folder. He flipped through the pages in silence. The only sound in the room was the ticking of a grandfather clock and the rustle of paper. He stopped at the photo of Julian and Monica on the jet ski. He tapped the photo with a manicured finger. "This was taken 4 days ago?" he asked. "Yes, while I was hospitalized." "And the $48,000 transfer?" "Unauthorized. He claimed it was for an escrow account for a business deal. I have the audio recording of him admitting that to me last night. I used the voice memo app on my phone while it was in my pocket." Marcus looked up, a slow, predatory smile spreading across his face. "You are a very dangerous woman, Alara." "I'm a pregnant woman who has been robbed, Marcus. I need to know where I stand." "You stand on the high ground," he said, leaning back. "In our state, dissipation of marital assets for an affair is a serious offense. We will freeze everything. We will file for full restitution, and since you are carrying twins, the child support calculations will be aggressive." He pulled out a legal pad. "What is your goal? Do you want a quiet settlement? Mediation?" "No," I said. "I want him served, and I want him served publicly." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Public service is theatrical. It can escalate things." He stole 5 years of my life and $48,000, I replied. I don't want quiet. I want scorched earth. Marcus nodded, scribbling something down. Very well. I'll have the papers drawn up by Friday. Someone from my office can deliver them. No, I interrupted. Give them to me. I'll serve him myself. Wednesday night was when Julian really dug his own grave. I was in the kitchen, trying to meal prep for the week while fighting off a wave of morning sickness. Julian strolled in, phone in hand, looking annoyed. Alara, we have a problem with the catering for Saturday, he said, not even looking at me. What problem? I asked, chopping carrots with a little more force than necessary. The sushi place wants a deposit, another $500, and the open bar package needs to be paid up front. That's another $1,000. I put the knife down. Julian, you drained the savings account. We have literally $40 in checking until my paycheck clears on Friday. I can't pay for an open bar. He rolled his eyes. Don't be dramatic. Just put it on your credit card. The Visa has a $10,000 limit, right? We'll pay it off when the Vertex funding comes through next month. He wanted me to go into debt to fund the party celebrating his birth a week after he stole our nest egg. My card is near the limit, Julian, I lied. Medical bills from the hospital stay. He groaned, running a hand through his hair. God, everything is just a hassle lately, isn't it? Fine, I'll ask my mom to spot me the cash. But you need to step it up, Alara. The apartment is a mess. If we're having people over, this place needs to look successful. Appearance is everything. I'm recovering, Julian, I said quietly. Yeah. Just try to have some energy, okay? Nobody likes a sulking hostess. Then came the kicker. Oh, also, he said, tapping on his screen, I invited a key colleague, Monica. She's the new operations consultant for Vertex. She's been helping me with the logistics for the Dubai investor. I froze. He was inviting her to our house, to my face. He thought I was so stupid, so blindly loyal, that he could parade his mistress in front of me at his birthday party and call her a consultant. Monica? I asked, turning to face him. Yeah, we reconnected, he said smoothly. She's brilliant. You'll like her. She's really eager to meet you, actually. I bet she was. She probably wanted to see the woman she was robbing. Sure, I said, forcing a smile. Invite her. The more the merrier. Great, he said, pecking me on the cheek. You're the best, babe. I'm gonna go hop in the shower. As soon as the bathroom door clicked shut, I walked over to his laptop bag. I needed the final piece of the puzzle. I opened the side pocket. There it was, a small velvet box. I opened it. Inside were diamond earrings, not the cheap kind, real ones, probably 2 carats total. He hadn't given them to me. He hadn't given them to Monica yet. He was probably saving them for her birthday, or maybe a just because gift to keep her hooked. I snapped a photo of the earrings. Then I put them back exactly as I found them. Saturday arrived with a blue sky and a gentle breeze. Perfect weather for a rooftop party. I spent the morning transforming the apartment. I cleaned until my hands were raw. I set up the decorations, gold and black balloons, a banner that said Dirty 30, and a photo wall of Julian through the years. Julian spent the morning at the gym and the barber. He came back looking like $1 million. My $1 million. Place looks decent, he said, surveying the rooftop. Did you get the projector working? I want to show the Vertex sizzle reel later. The projector is all set, I promised. I loaded a video file onto the laptop. It's all queued up. Perfect. He checked his watch. People start arriving at 7. Go get dressed. And wear that red dress I like, the one with the slit. I went into the bedroom. I didn't put on the red dress. I put on a black dress. Elegant, severe, and high-necked. I looked like I was going to a funeral for a very wealthy husband. I did my makeup sharper than usual. Dark liner, red lips. I reached under the mattress and pulled out a large, flat gift box wrapped in silver paper. Inside sat 2 things. A clear plastic stick with 2 bright pink lines. A thick stack of documents titled Petition for Dissolution of Marriage, stapled to a high-gloss printout of him and Monica on the beach. I walked out to the rooftop. The guests were arriving. Alara, you look stunning. Julian's mother, Beatrice, rushed over to hug me. She was a sweet woman who thought the sun rose and set on her son. How are you feeling? Julian said you had a little bug last week. I'm feeling clarified, Beatrice, I said, hugging her back. Better than I have in years. And where is the birthday boy? Holding court, I pointed. Julian was by the bar, holding a whiskey sour, laughing loudly with his college buddies. He looked successful. He looked happy. Then the elevator pinged. Monica walked out. She was stunning, I'll give her that. She wore a slip dress that left very little to the imagination. She scanned the room, spotted Julian, and her face lit up. I watched Julian. He did a subtle double take, then composed himself. He walked over to her, offered a handshake, professional, distant. But I saw the way his thumb grazed her wrist. "Alara," Julian called out, waving me over. "Come meet Monica." I walked over. My heart was hammering against my ribs, but my hands were steady. "Hi," Monica said, her voice sugary sweet. "It's so nice to finally meet you. Julian talks about you all the time." "Does he?" I smiled. "He barely mentions you, but I feel like I know you already." Her smile faltered for a microsecond. "Oh? I just came on as a consultant recently." "Right, the logistics consultant," I said. "Well, make yourself at home, Monica. The bar is open. Try the champagne. I hear it's almost as good as what they serve in the Caribbean." Julian choked on his drink. He coughed violently. "Wrong pipe," he wheezed, his face red. He looked at me, eyes wide with panic. I just stared at him, my expression pleasant and blank. "Are you okay, honey?" I asked. "Fine, I'm fine," he sputtered. He looked at me, searching for anger, searching for a sign that I knew. But I gave him nothing. I just patted his back. "Good," I said, because it's almost time for speeches. By 9 p.m., the party was in full swing. About 50 people were crowded onto the roof. The music was loud, the alcohol was flowing. Julian was buzzing. He had relaxed again, convincing himself that my Caribbean comment was a coincidence. He was standing on a raised platform near the projector screen, basking in the attention. I walked over to the laptop connected to the sound system. I cut the music. Scritch. The sudden silence grabbed everyone's attention. "Everyone," I called out, holding a microphone. "If I could have your attention, please." The crowd cheered. Julian beamed, raising his glass. "I just want to say a few words about my husband," I began, my voice amplifying over the rooftop. "Julian, turning 30 is a milestone. It's a time to reflect on who you are, what you've built, and where you're going." Julian nodded, looking humble. Monica was standing in the front row, sipping her drink, looking adoringly at him. "Julian has been working so hard lately. He's been sacrificing everything for his company, for sex. He's been taking trips, meeting investors, doing whatever it takes to secure our future." "That's right," one of his frat bros yelled. "And I wanted to show you all exactly what that hard work looks like," I said, "because transparency is the key to any good marriage and any good business." I looked at Julian. He was smiling, but there was a flicker of confusion in his eyes. He was expecting the sizzle reel. He was expecting graphs and hype music. "So," I said, my finger hovering over the enter key on the laptop, "here's a look at Julian's recent business trip." I hit the key. The projector roared to life behind him.
The first image wasn't a graph. It was the bank statement, blown up to 100 inches. Transfer, minus $48,200. Balance, $42.50. The crowd went quiet. A few people squinted, confused. "What is this?" Julian laughed nervously. "Babe, I think you opened the wrong file." "No," I said into the mic. "I don't think I did, because that money was transferred on Tuesday, and here is where it went." I clicked next. The photo of Julian and Monica on the balcony appeared. It was massive, high definition. Julian in his linen shirt, Monica in her bikini, kissing his cheek. The silence on the roof was deafening. It was instant, absolute silence. Monica dropped her glass. It shattered on the concrete, the sound echoing like a gunshot. Julian whipped his head around to look at the screen. His face drained of all color. He looked like a ghost. "Alara," he croaked. "This is Julian and his consultant, Monica," I narrated, my voice clear and cold, "in Turks and Caicos, last week, while I was in the hospital." I clicked next. The receipt, $6,400, Royal Sands Resort. I clicked next. The text messages. Julian, "She's clueless. I'll tell her it's an escrow account. She'll believe anything." Monica, "I can't wait to spend that money on room service." A collective gasp went through the crowd. I saw Julian's mother cover her mouth with her hands, tears instantly springing to her eyes. Julian lunged for the laptop. "Turn it off. Alora, turn it off now." My brother, who I had briefed beforehand, stepped in front of Julian. My brother is 6'3" and works construction. He put a hand on Julian's chest and shoved him back, hard, Let her finish, my brother growled. Julian stumbled back, looking around wildly. He looked at his friends. They were looking at the ground. He looked at Monica. She was trying to back away into the elevator, but the crowd blocked her path. You stole our life savings, I said, stepping closer to him. $48,000. Money we were saving for a house. Money we were saving for a family. I can explain, Julian stammered, sweat pouring down his face. Alara, please, not here. It was an investment. It was a vacation, I corrected. And speaking of investments, I picked up the silver gift box from the table. I have one last gift for you, Julian. Happy birthday. I walked up to him and shoved the box into his chest. He took it automatically. His hands were shaking so bad he almost dropped it. Open it, I commanded. He fumbled with the lid. He pulled out the papers. He saw the bold letters, petition for divorce. Then he saw the plastic stick taped to the front. He stared at it. He looked up at me, his eyes wide, terrified. You're, he whispered. Pregnant, I said loud enough for the microphone to catch, with twins. The crowd erupted. His mother let out a sob. And don't worry about custody, I said, leaning in so only he could hear the venom in my voice. You won't have any money left to fight for it. I turned to the stunned crowd. Party's over, I said. Everyone out, except Julian. He needs to pack. The silence didn't last long. It was broken by the sound of Julian's mother, Beatrice. She walked up to Julian. She was trembling, her face a mask of absolute betrayal. Julian looked at her, his eyes pleading. Mom, listen, it's not what it looks like, he stammered, holding the divorce papers in one hand and the pregnancy test in the other. Alara is confused. The photos they're out of context. Monica is a colleague. We were role-playing a client pitch. Beatrice didn't say a word. She wound up her arm and slapped him. The sound was wet and heavy. It echoed across the rooftop. You stole from a pregnant woman, Beatrice hissed, her voice shaking with rage. You stole from my grandchild. You are not the man I raised. She turned to me. Alara, I am so sorry. I had no idea. I know, Beatrice, I said softly. You should go. As the guests began to shuffle out, whispering, glaring at Julian, taking photos of the projector screen with their phones, the shock on Julian's face turned into something else. It turned into rage. He threw the pregnancy test on the ground. It cracked. Are you happy? He screamed, veins bulging in his neck. Are you satisfied? You just humiliated me in front of everyone I know, in front of my investors, in front of my mother. You humiliated yourself, Julian, I said, not moving an inch. My brother, Sam, took a step closer to him, his arms crossed, ready to pounce. I did this for us, Julian yelled, pointing a finger at my face. You don't understand business. You have a worker bee mindset. I needed that money to look the part. I needed to wine and dine Monica because she has connections to venture capital. If I had landed the deal, I would have put the $48,000 back with interest. You just ruined $1 million opportunity because you're insecure. You spent $6,000 on a resort suite, I countered, my voice dead calm. You bought a $2,000 diamond bracelet. I saw the receipt for that too. And the diamond earrings I found in your bag in the kitchen? Was that for business? Was the jewelry going to write code for your app? He faltered. That was a signing bonus for her. I looked over at Monica. She was by the elevator, frantically jabbing the down button. Hey, Monica, I shouted. She froze. Did you know he used his wife's life savings to pay for that bracelet? I asked. Did you know that money was for a house? Or did he tell you he was a crypto millionaire? Monica looked at Julian with pure disgust. You said you were separated, she spat at him. You said the money was from your trust fund. Monica, don't listen to her, Julian pleaded, spinning around. She's crazy. It's the hormones. She's hormonal. He's broke, Monica, I said, smiling. He has $42.50 to his name, and a lot of debt. Good luck with the signing bonus. The elevator doors pinged open. Monica stepped inside without looking back. Wait, Monica! Julian took a step toward her, but Sam blocked his path like a concrete wall. She's gone, man, Sam said deeply. And you're going too. Julian turned back to me. The anger was gone, replaced by the desperate, pathetic stage, the bargaining. He dropped to his knees, literally, on the rooftop of our apartment building, surrounded by half-deflated balloons and empty cups. Alara, please, he sobbed. Tears were streaming down his face. Please, baby, we're having twins. Twins! You can't do this. You can't raise them alone. I messed up. I know I messed up. It was the pressure. I just wanted to be a success for you. I wanted to give you the world. You took my world, I said. You took my safety. You took my trust. And you took my money. I'll pay it back, he cried, grabbing the hem of my dress. I'll get a job, a real job. I'll work construction with Sam. I'll do anything. Just don't file these papers. Don't take my kids away. I looked down at him.
I looked at the man who had massaged my shoulders while plotting to rob me. I looked at the man who had lied about a storm while soaking up the sun with another woman. I felt nothing. No love, no hate, just exhaustion. I pulled my dress from his grip. "They aren't your kids, Julian," I said coldly. "Not really. To be a father, you have to be a man. You're just a liability." I pointed to the door. "You have 10 minutes to pack a bag. Sam will supervise you. If you take anything other than clothes and toiletries, I'm calling the cops. I have the fraud report ready to file." "Where am I supposed to go?" he wailed. "My mom won't take me. I have no money for a hotel." "You're an entrepreneur, Julian," I said, turning my back on him. "Innovate." I walked inside and locked the bedroom door. I listened to him crying in the hallway as Sam marched him into the guest room to pack. 20 minutes later, the front door slammed shut. I was finally alone. I sat on the edge of the bed, put my hand on my stomach, and for the first time in a week, I cried. Not because I missed him, but because I was finally free. It has been 2 years since that night. A lot has changed. The divorce was not clean. Julian fought it. He tried to claim that the $48,000 was a marital investment that went bad, and therefore he shouldn't be liable to pay it back. My lawyer, Marcus, absolutely destroyed him in court. We proved that the expenditure was for dissipation of assets on an extramarital affair. The judge was not amused by the photos of the jet skis. I was awarded full custody of the twins. Julian was ordered to repay the $48,000, plus legal fees, plus alimony. Since he had no money, the court ordered a liquidation of his assets. His car was repossessed. His expensive watch collection, which he also bought with our money, was sold. He ended up moving into a studio apartment with 3 roommates in the bad part of town. As for me, I gave birth to 2 healthy babies, a boy named Kieran and a girl named Isla. They are 18 months old now, and they are the light of my life. I didn't lose my job. In fact, when my boss found out what happened, the story got around the office. She gave me a raise and allowed me to work remotely so I could be with the kids. I slowly rebuilt my savings. It was hard. There were months when I ate instant noodles so the twins could have fresh fruit. But every dollar in my account now is mine. No one can take it from me. And Julian? I saw him once, about 3 months ago. I was at the park with the twins. Kieran was trying to eat sand, and Isla was chasing a butterfly. I looked up and saw a man in an orange vest picking up trash near the fence. It was court-ordered community service. It was Julian. He looked 10 years older. His hair was thinning, his face was gone, and the spark in his eyes was gone. He looked beaten.
He saw me. He stopped picking up trash and just stared. He looked at the twins. He watched them play. He saw Kieran laugh, a laugh that sounds exactly like his used to. He took a step toward the fence, raising a hand as if to wave. I didn't wave back. I picked up Isla, grabbed Kieran's hand, and turned around. I walked away without looking back. I heard later from a mutual friend that Monica dumped him the night of the party and blocked his number. She ended up getting fired from her own job because word of the scandal reached her HR department. Apparently, embezzling funds with a married client is a breach of ethics. Karma didn't miss. I'm sitting on my own balcony now. It's not in a mansion, and it's not in Turks and Caicos. It's a small apartment, but it's mine. The twins are asleep in the next room. I have a glass of wine, bought with my own money, and I am at peace. I learned the hard way that love isn't about grand gestures or future promises. It's about who shows up when you're in the hospital. It's about who protects you when you're weak. And sometimes the best investment you can make is investing in yourself and cutting your losses. My $48,000 was a high price to pay, but it bought me my freedom. And honestly, it was worth every penny. If you enjoyed seeing Julian get exactly what he deserved, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I have a few more stories from my friends that are just as wild. Thanks for listening, and remember, check the bank statements. Always check the bank statements.